Hi, my name is Karen BeeBe. I am the Chief Technology Officer. But under all of that, making sure that we have the right infrastructure in place, the right network in place, and the right security in place.
And the right people.
People are number one. To re-platform once is a big deal, okay? We consolidated and then re-platformed 2 times within the last 2 years. When someone asks me like, well, what is Bealls about? That conversation about our values. Team members who actually felt like they may not have had a voice, that they have a voice and they can be heard. And that, to me, also helps a culture of innovation, really trying to be open and transparent and be open to new ideas. When you get that aha moment on, oh, I need to accept what's occurring, get back in the present moment, and then be able to move on. Hi, my name is Karen BeeBe, and I work here at Bealls Inc. I've been here 2.5 years. I am the Chief Technology Officer, and I lead the technology organization here at Bealls. That includes everything that plugs into the wall and all of our software and solutions that run within our stores and within our corporation.
Nice. It's only 2.5 years. It's crazy. It seems like we've been working together for much longer than that.
It's been that's what's so exciting about being here, actually, that when I first even interviewed at the Bell building, that I sat there and I was in a conference room and I felt like I had been here before. And I had never been here before. I had never been in the building. I hadn't been in the hall, and I felt like I had been here before. And it felt so much like the right family setting, but yet still that process and corporation that I like.
Still feels that way.
Still feels that way.
Good,
and we're trying to continue to make that the best of both worlds.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Dan Doyle said that you were the, I don't know how you would word it, but the questions that you asked during the interview process were the most detailed. It was the most amount of questions that he's been asked and the most detailed amount of questions that he's ever been asked by any candidate that he's ever interviewed in his entire career.
I didn't know that. We did stay on we actually did a virtual Teams interview before I met him in person, and I really appreciated his time. And, Dan's been here for a long time, and I really rely on Dan, even today, working with him and his advice and his counsel.
Yeah, he's a legend. He's great. Hopefully we have him for a long time, but and you as well. So talk to me about your career and where have you worked in the past and sort of the steps that got you here, and then we'll get into more of kind of what's happening now.
I started off as a programmer, actually. So I programmed on the AS400, and from there I went to the Limited Inc., which now then became L Brands, and it's also then become Victoria's Secret and Bath and Body Works. But at the Limited, you either worked at Limited or in Columbus, Ohio, or you worked at the Gap in California. It was the mecca of multiple, retailers all together as one. And I started off at Victoria's Secrets and had the opportunity to work across all of the brands. So and each brand had a different culture. So you had to learn that company culture across those brands, even though you're working for one company, because it was set up very separate. And so then I had the opportunity to not only be in technology that whole time, and I got to start up some companies. We started up Victoria's Secret Beauty, and then went back and then it became all part of Victoria's Secrets. But I had the opportunity to work in internal audit and see across all the brands in a different method, just the ways of how internal audit works and how we worked across the brands. And then I also had the opportunity to work as the director of planning and allocation, because I worked so many projects with merchandise planning and the allocators and the merchants that I had the opportunity to actually be part of that organization and help centralize some of the planning functions across all limited brands. And then ultimately back into technology. So, yeah. And so that was the limited. Why did I spend so much time there? Because I spent a long time there. So I spent almost 20 years at limited. And I had that opportunity to work across all of those different brands. So you had Express and Henry Bendel and Lane Bryant and Abercrombie and Fitch. And so you really learned retail. I learned retail across, and I had so much education and training while I was there as well. And from there, I went to Chico's FAS, which was Chico's White House Black Market in Soma.
Before we get there, the each brand having a different culture, that the concept of that, did that come because there was like a brand leader that everybody reported up to and he created the culture, or was it intentionally created separate cultures by someone at a higher level, or how was that working?
It was interesting. It started off, yes, there was a brand president for each brand, and there was functions of finance and HR for each brand when it started off. And there were times when we would centralize, then they decentralized because the centralization seemed like it wasn't being as effective or productive. So they decentralize, become very siloed, and then we centralized again. And as going through Y2K, it became more of a centralized function, and then it stayed centralized from there. And it seemed like we had worked out the kinks of how do you create an organization that can be as productive, that's a shared service across and working for those brands. So, for example, finance and accounting working across all the brands, technology working across all the brands. And so that's when the culture became a little bit more of a shared service and blended culture.
What were two of the most extreme culture types, and how did they differ?
Okay, that's getting interesting.
Yeah.
Extreme culture types. We had in one setting, and I can remember some. So
You don't have to say like which brand it was.
no,
or
and
who
I
the
will not.
people were.
No, and I will not name names either. But what I was thinking is, as I have learned, I've learned what not to do, and then what also who I would want to emulate. And there were sometimes in meetings where you would think a brand president would not do what it could get kind of like heightened, maybe some yelling kind of conversations. And that's where that was the culture of, that was rough. And that's where you felt like, okay, I survived. I just survived that meeting. Then you had the other type where, as we started to get more and more as a shared service, the working through, and actually we went through some culture shaping. It's called Sendelaney at the time. Culture shaping education to actually help us work through our communication styles. How do you work with each other? And that helped. And it was sustained for a few years, but I'm not sure if it's still being sustained.
Okay. So then from there you went on to where?
Chico's.
Chico's. Yeah.
Chico's FAS.
Yeah.
Here in Florida.
What year?
So it went from Ohio to Florida. 2009. And it was Chico's White House Black Market and Soma. And at the time, they also eventually acquired Boston Proper. And there I went because I had done a lot of transformation work at limited brands, meaning putting in a lot of new systems. We were modernizing and consolidating our systems. And so as I went to Chico's, they were on a journey and path and knew that I had that experience. And so I brought that with me. And I led the application development organization for implementing systems like SAP, new planning and allocation systems, new workforce management solutions, and new product lifecycle management solutions.
All right. Awesome. So then you got to Bealls. What was it like when you got to
Actually,
Bealls?
I had one,
You had one
more
stop.
journey.
That's
Just one
right.
more stop.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
I went from Chico's to Vineyard Vines.
Right.
So the interesting piece there is at Limited and Chico's, both publicly held companies. And when I had the opportunity to go to Vineyard Vines, it was a family-run company, privately held, and it's out of Stamford, Connecticut. And they were a growing company. They were known in the industry with all of their design product development that they did, because it was very unique to Vineyard Vines, and it was all very popular in college, for the college students and
Super
families
preppy kind of.
It is, yes, the pink whale, known as the pink whale. And so there, I led the technology organization, and we did a lot of transformation there as well. They had not put a lot of energy into sustaining or moving their systems forward. And so we ended up putting in new point of sale solutions and new order management, and continue to develop e-commerce and product lifecycle management and workforce management and things that can.
Sounds familiar.
Yes, because that's the capabilities of. Those are all tools that really help from a productivity standpoint within a retail organization. Because labor, your people are your biggest asset. And you want to make sure that you are providing them with the best tools to leverage when they should be there and when they shouldn't be there, and how to do their task.
How many years were you there?
7 years.
7 years. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you're a very loyal person, Karen. I mean,
very loyal. But
yeah.
it was that whole after the pandemic, and I just needed to stay closer to family. And so when this opportunity for Bealls came available, I jumped at it. I said, absolutely, please put my name in there in the hat. And so I'm here, and I'm super excited to be here.
Cool. Yeah. Where was that connection made at? NRF?
It was made at National Retail Federation, and I had known the gentleman who was he eventually became the chairperson of the CIO Council, and I was the vice chair. And when he finished his term as the chairperson, and I took over for him. So then it came time that he was at Bealls. He decided to retire, and he threw my name in the hat. So cool. I think he tried me out a little bit to make sure. But Bealls is like I said a little earlier, it is a company that it's family owned and run, but it's also run like a publicly held company. And so you have those processes and the board of directors that I wanted that best of both worlds.
Yeah, cool. So, what was it like, the transition coming to Bealls, and like, what was were there any big surprises, or was anything shocking? Like, how did you feel when you were transitioning into the company?
I think I didn't really understand the longevity of the company. And so Vineyard Vines was a young company. So I had been in that middle part of Limited was around 50 to 60 years old, and Chico's a little bit 30. I had hit 30 years there. I mean, the 30-year mark of Chico's. And with Vineyard Vines, very young company, and Bealls, this April, we're going to be 110 years.
It's crazy.
110 years.
I don't feel any older than 46.
And I did not, I don't think I understood and appreciated that. And then coming in here, really looking at what do we need to do from a systems standpoint, and help transform, right, from where we are in the company, and you're growing, right? We're growing faster and faster now. Even from the time that I got here, it feels like we're on this really big growth path. And how to look at those systems and make the right choices because you still have to unravel a little bit of the legacy pieces that have been built over time. And you don't, there's no way we want to cause too much disruption to the point where you're hurting the organization. And, when I first got here, we are on a legacy modernization journey. And at some point soon, I want to stop that journey. Like I want us to get to a completion on that. But as we started, we needed to hit some major milestones, and we did. I was here 6 months in, and I remember we just finished implementing Oracle on the merchandising side, and we caused some disruption on reporting. We absolutely impacted the business a little bit on the reporting, and everyone was, patient with us and allowed us to get through that. But with that legacy modernization, it's not easy. Let me put it that way. It's not easy.
Yeah. And can you just for everybody, I think everybody understands, but legacy modernization, can you explain exactly what you're talking about?
Yes. So it is about solutions that are older computer hardware solutions, where we have put in some cases, they're still running 35-year-old systems here. And we are looking at taking those systems that are typically more constrained with functionality, not as easy. They may not be on the cloud, right? They're more on-premise solutions, or so on-premise being they're either physically here or we've now tried to take them to our own private cloud, but they're not built to be as dynamic to be able to change. So we're looking at from taking us off of these older solutions and moving us into digital solutions that allow quick and easy changes within them, so that you're not doing kind of these big bang implementations and then causing disruption because you had to change everything all at once.
Right. And then the reports get screwed up, or the inventory, or the whatever.
Yes.
Something always gets screwed up
But
with
our
technology.
inventory did not get screwed up. I just want to be clear.
Thank goodness. Right. So what have been, over the last 2.5 years, would you say have been the big implementations of the technology team? What have you been able to install, and what have you changed in the last couple of years?
So in the last couple of years, we have changed out our data center our data center hardware, because it was becoming end of life. We have implemented new order management solutions, which is taking customer orders and having them flow. We've completely replatformed. We actually went from, we had 2 separate e-com solutions that were running, in which you're maintaining 2 separate, e-com solutions.
For Bealls and Bealls Florida.
For Bealls and Bealls Florida, we were able to consolidate. And then actually after that consolidation, that saved money and more efficient. Then we replatformed to be on a more effective platform, so we could save additional money and to improve our functionality. And that, to replatform once is a big deal, okay? We consolidated and then replatformed 2 times within the last 2 years. And so that's pretty significant. And the new order management solution, so to describe an example of what does the new order management solution do? If you ordered online, that order management is what tracks your order through the whole pipeline, and you fulfill your order and it gets to our customer. And that order management is handling that and the communication that goes to our customer. And we put that in for both Bealls and Bealls Florida as well. We've put in a new product lifecycle management. So we have exclusive brands, right? We have brands that we design within Bealls and Bealls Florida. And those brands that we design need a process for it to go through. And so we've worked with our design, product development, sourcing teams, and put in this new, it's called product lifecycle management solution to help their entire process and really to help them make sure that they're handling all the specific technical designs that they need, but also to help speed their process so that you can go from concept to the customer faster. Those are just to name a few.
Just a few.
Yeah,
It's been a busy
I'm sure
couple
there's
years.
there's more and that I'm actually probably forgetting right now. Yeah. But under all of that is in making sure that we have the right infrastructure in place, the right network in place, and the right security in place. And we've been focusing on those areas as well to ensure our platforms are there.
And the right people.
People are number one.
Yeah.
People are number one.
Yeah.
So I was assuming that was there.
Right. Yeah.
But yes.
It's been a busy few years. You guys have accomplished a tremendous amount. The team is really operating on a very high level. So I want to just publicly thank you for what you've done and what I know you'll continue to do. It's been fun to get the company much more modern than we have been historically. So thank you.
Yeah, and the team is what makes the team makes everything happen.
No doubt.
And everyone's been great about understanding and being flexible and really learning our business and making sure that we're doing the right solutions for our associates and for our guests. And it's exciting to see that. And we even have a lot more to come.
Yeah, good.
And just even, I have to share, like we did some hardware changes in our stores and reduced our footprint within the store, meaning we had this big bulky server. And that was really kind of our legacy servers for each store. And now it's down to like this, it was like this on the floor and now it's down to this. The team had put all of that in. They did it before holiday of last year. And it's helped significantly in just how we're supporting the store and how the stores are able to work with the guest and not be interrupted with issues. And so that's been very exciting as well.
Nice. So we'll come back to business maybe in a few minutes. I want to ask you about kind of culture a little bit and your impressions on culture and sort of maybe the values and the path that we've been on for the last few years since you've been here. It started just before you got here, of course, with our cultural revolution, with the values that we've been making a part of our everyday interactions and in the company. What has been your impression, I guess maybe values aside, what's been your impression of the culture as you've kind of joined the company and you've now fully integrated obviously into the company for 2.5 years? What culturally stands out to you about Bealls?
When I first joined, I felt a very good, warm culture and a family culture. So it's been there. It is part of who Bealls Inc. is. But then you were taking us even down a further, and I'm going to say deeper journey, so that we could define what does that really mean? So that we can say we have a good culture or a great culture, but what does it mean, and what does it look like? What does it look like? And as we've been going through our discussions as a senior leadership team and how that's evolved over time, that doesn't happen anywhere else. And so meaning that kind of conversation that we have and the time we've set aside to really talk through what these values are, what they mean, how they tie together, I have not had that kind of time allowed or even dedicated in any of the companies I've been before. And we had culturally rich training. And I was part of processes, but not to this depth and degree. And that's when someone asks me like, well, what is Bealls about? The biggest thing that I come back, especially when I have other executives who are asking me from other companies, the biggest difference is that conversation about our values. And I refer them to your podcast because there's 2 podcasts that you really go through that initial conversation of the values, and then you went even deeper with the store management group on the values so that they could understand what it means. And it's not just your typical definition either.
What was that like on the first SVP retreat that you joined with the company? Because we had kind of started that process about a year before you came on board, and then you kind of came in on the second SVP retreat
Yes.
where it was all about values. So just for the audience, we do one annual retreat offsite where we meet, and we don't discuss a lot of business. It's an offsite meeting, and business isn't really a part of that one. We have a separate offsite retreat for annually for like a high level, long term visionary business strategy meetings. But this is different, and we do this quarterly, and we get together and we discuss these, and we talk about topics that other companies are, as you mentioned, are for sure not talking about. But it all ties back to how we treat each other, and it ties back to our company culture, and it ties back to just who we want to be as individuals and as an organization. And so it's very powerful stuff, and we get into some very deep discussions that I know other people just aren't covering what we're covering, and it's been, I think, a great source of growth for, I know myself, of course, but I think everybody within that group, within that team. What was it like walking into that environment on that first retreat and digging into some of those topics? How were you feeling? Were you feeling comfortable? What was going through your mind at that point?
Definitely not feeling comfortable. No, when you had given us a couple books to read as we go, The Power of Now and A New Earth, that specific retreat. And I didn't know what to expect. I actually did not know what to expect. And I'm a very process. I need like agenda. I need to prepare. And it was, no, we're going to go through this. And, we're out with nature having these conversations about what did this mean? How does this look? What are even the words that start to describe our culture and how we work together? And it was in deep discussions. And it goes back to the conversation that you were saying you've had a lot of growth. You allowed us. And I think the piece for me that's just so special is you allowed us to have our own personal growth and our own personal journey. That doesn't happen very often. It's usually like, okay, we're going to get together. We're going to talk through this. And then it's like, okay, check. Now we're going to go to the next topic. But yet it didn't become ingrained into anything that you're doing. And it wasn't, and I think, it's not like you can say it once and it just happens. So we each had to have our own journey, and we were like helping each other go through that journey. And it's been from the time I've been here, right, to over the last 2 years. I think about two years, it became really clear on those 7 values that we have. And I know you were like, maybe there's an 8th one. And after we all talked it through again, it was like, no, this is it for now. These truly hold true, and they all work off of each other.
Right. That was a good experiment, though, to see, should we expand, should we contract? I think those every once in a while are important conversations to have. Yeah. Yeah. But it's almost magical how they all come together and feed off of each other and just work together.
There's been many aha moments, actually. Many aha moments of just a reflection of, wow, okay. Our value on acceptance. Our value on acceptance. There's like, okay, you realize I'm not really accepting the situation. And I don't know how to describe it, but when you get that aha moment on, I need to accept what's occurring, get back in the present moment, and then be able to move on. Instead of sitting here of, I can't believe this, or you start to go crazy and you make up all these stories in your head. And so many aha moments based on understanding the values more deeply and being able to go through that journey.
Yeah, that acceptance one of that. And I think we had a fairly deep conversation that was helpful to both of us about just, we just need to accept reality. Like, we don't have to accept that this is good or that this is, we don't have to judge it one way or the other. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be bad, but it happened. And so what do we do? And so it's like, why waste all that extra energy on whatever regret or judgment or beating yourself up or wishing things were different or essentially creating negativity? Why waste all of that time and energy on creating negativity when we can just accept, hey, this is the situation. Now let's fully accept that and understand the situation. And then what do we do? What change do we want to make? Because it's not as if acceptance takes you to this place where you can't make change happen. It's quite the opposite. When you accept something, you can make change happen much more effectively, much more efficiently without all of the drama. And so it's one of those values. They're all so very deep and so very intense when you really get down into them and try to understand them. What other value sticks out for you, or what other?
Well, I was just even on that continuing there's so many times you're making up stories in your head.
Yeah.
And it's truly is wasting time. And it's causing this crazy anxiety in yourself where you're being your own destructor actually, and you're causing your own drama when it didn't even occur. Like when you really get down to it, you just made up the story.
Right.
And so you're wasting time, and you're also wasting energy put into a place that it doesn't need to be.
Right.
So that we can move forward.
Right.
And so now we have more of a common language that we can use or help each other too of talking of like, okay, I'm making that story up in my head. Let's move on from there. Let's get clear. And I think coming back to the present moment it sounds so simple, but it's not that easy. Because your head is always like, okay, what should I say? Or what am I going to say? Or
past or future.
Wow, I can't believe I said that. And so, very powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's one of those things when we are in that state, and everybody gets there. And so this is a practice of observing yourself and attempting to be in that state less often through observance of your own self and your own behavior. It's self-awareness. But it's pretty obvious a lot of times to our teams that we're in that state, so this is helping us become better leaders. It's helping us have better connections with our team. It's helping us become better people. And if we, and they can see it, the teammates can see it when we are creating the stories, or when we're focused on the negatives, or focused on what should have happened, or how things should have worked, or what went wrong, as opposed to just, let's get to that point of acceptance. Like, this happened, and now what do we do?
Yes.
What's the next steps?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
It is. Yeah.
It's very powerful. And until you go through it, I don't know if you can understand it. I mean, it makes sense. It's logical, but it's very powerful. Very powerful.
And life is constantly giving us opportunities
Every day.
Yep.
I can tell a story every day.
Yeah, for sure. What else? But we'll move on from values. I mean, it kind of tends to intertwine with everything that we talk about. I mean, you can look at anything through the lens of the values. It seems, so they might come back to us later in the conversation at various parts, but. But what other value sticks out to you, or was meaningful or impactful to you? I know they all are, but is there anything specific that jumps out?
Going through them in my head right now. I mean, openness and transparency have been very powerful. That one felt like it tended to be easier, but as you continue to work with others, you wonder if you have a greater emphasis on really trying to be open and transparent and be open to new ideas, and making sure that you're hearing from everyone and all of those voices are brought in, because that also is the power of getting to a better place, right? The better synergies across our culture. And I think that having having openness stated outwardly, it allows team members who actually felt like they may not have had a voice, that they have a voice and they can be heard. And that, to me, also helps a culture of innovation. And again, being able to get those ideas out there and go from there, being able to be as productive as we can.
What other values stand out to you?
Accountability. So accountability, defined on how you typically think about it, being accountable for your role and job, that still is there. But the accountability on how we're defining the value that's extended beyond that, I think you really describe it best. So I'll let you define that one.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's tricky because people just see the word accountability and they think, okay, I get it. I need to be accountable. I need to show up on time. I need to work hard. I need to get my job done. I need to be there for my people, et cetera. Accountability, check, done. I get that, but it's not that at all. So that's not a value for us. That's certainly something that as an organization we need in order to be productive and efficient and connected and to make great decisions and to push the company forward. We need that form of accountability, but as a value, the word accountability really means accountability for our own mental state. And so that's a big difference. And so it's and what does that mean? I mean, I think maybe the most simple way to explain it is what does a lack of accountability look like? And what that looks like is when I'm blaming people, when I'm being a victim of some circumstances, and when I'm generally just not present. It's somebody else's fault, and so accountability is accountability for your mental state, and knowing that there's no one else to blame and that I'm not a victim. And so oftentimes what we do when something quote unquote goes wrong, we've judged something as negative. What we do is we immediately seek out someone or something or some situation or something from the past that we can say it's their fault. It's their fault. I didn't do this. It's a separation of that self from the event, and so we tried not to do that. That doesn't mean we need to say it's my fault. It just means, hey, acceptance. This is the situation. This is what happened. And so that's really, I think, and when we go to blame, oftentimes victim comes next. And if we're doing that, we're just creating drama. We're just creating these mental, emotional stories of drama, and it's like this conditioned mind pattern that I think until we recognize that we do that, we all have. And even once we recognize we do it, it's still a practice. It's still, you find yourself going there sometimes, even if you know that this is a thing. And most people have no idea that this is, they just go on every day and just blaming everybody for everything. But accountability is it's the ability to recognize that it's not anybody else's fault, that I've created, that I'm responsible for my own mental state. And so I think a good example is this person made me so mad. Like this person, whether somebody cuts you off in traffic, and then you immediately go to judgment and you say, well, that's bad. That person is dangerous, or that person is wrong, or that person did something wrong. You're creating negativity from within, and you're seeking to blame someone else for your own mental turbulence, your own mental disturbance. And so that's kind of accountability, is the recognition of, I created that mental turbulence. Like, he didn't create that mental turbulence. And it doesn't have to be a traffic stop. It can be something that someone says to you that has caused you to become defensive because of some identification with something, whether it's, whatever it is that you're identified. Usually you end up defending. And so when you feel that arise within you, that turbulence, that's a great time to practice accountability and to realize, I'm creating this. And it's so empowering,
And that's where I've had some aha moments, because it goes back to, he made me feel this way, or you do get into that place of where you're so upset, right? Inside. You're so upset inside. And that other person, they're not upset at all. And here you are, you're going on and on and on, and now you're making up more and more stories in your head about it. Typically, you're causing your own drama. And once you can actually release yourself of that, and so that goes back to that awareness, and you can accept what's going on with you, and you can move yourself forward. And that is that's so powerful internally. And you get out of all these mind games that you play with yourself. Yeah, very powerful.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I love that one too. That one's been game changing.
But I have to keep reminding myself, like it's almost like inherent that you just go straight there.
Yeah,
so it's not just like, oh, okay, I've conquered this value.
No. Life constantly gives you opportunities to observe yourself and to create that self-awareness through self-observance. And it's as you continue to practice accountability on a daily basis, and you continue to realize that I'm creating it, that nobody else is, as I continue to realize that I'm the one who creates it. You find that you have less of those issues on a daily basis. Life hits you with less of those things, or when life does hit you with those things, they're not as sharp. You don't react in such a negative way anymore as you practice it. If on a daily basis, you're going like this, and you start to practice accountability, well, the highs get lower, and they get less frequent.
Yes.
So it's very powerful practice.
Yes. And you're wasting less time.
Yeah.
And you're moving yourself forward. And I agree. And you're not dwelling. Like, there are times when something could have happened, and you can spend days on it. You can spend days on it.
Yeah.
And now it's not as, it's like, okay, I'm going to think this through in the way that I realize that it's myself, it's my own mental state. I'm creating my own disturbance. Now let's get to the present and let's move on.
Right. Yeah. You're talking about things that you can spend days on. I mean, that's grievances. That's holding on to the past of this person did this to me, and so you don't realize that you're creating that. While your mind is thinks that it's right and that the other person's wrong, you don't realize that you're just creating this toxicity within. And you don't have to do that. Like, we don't have to keep holding on to the past. We can be in the present moment and be at peace. So it's powerful.
It is. It's about getting to that peace state.
Yeah.
It is about getting there.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. So good. Yeah. Well, that's I think maybe a little bit of a dose of what we kind of go through and talk about on our retreats. So I appreciate you being open and vulnerable and talking about that and those values with me. I think it's a good kind of glimpse into a bit of our culture and kind of what we talk about and what we attempt to practice, while knowing that we're not always going to. We're human. We're not always going to be there. We're not always going to, and life is going to keep giving us those opportunities. So it's about, it's about the practice as opposed to being some perfect, it's just impossible, obviously. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, well, cool. Okay. Well, let's maybe move on a bit from that and transition into a bit back into business. I had a podcast with Mark Crystal, who's a director for us and an AI guy. I wonder if you want to talk a little bit about what's happening, maybe out there in the industry with regards to cybersecurity and or AI, and then maybe we bring it to Bealls after that.
Okay.
So what are you seeing out there in terms of like the total industry changes? And maybe we start with cybersecurity.
Everything is going so fast. Let's go there. It's almost going with lightning speed. And if you were to ask me what keeps me up at night, it is that I am not going fast enough. We're not going fast enough as a company, just from even a protection, are we looking at everything within the cybersecurity world that if we're going this fast to protect, we have hackers or threat actors that are going that fast to try to disrupt. So from an industry standpoint, with cybersecurity, always it has been, especially within the last few years, such an important topic and a topic that's in the boardroom all the time and on top of mind of every company. And it's always part of it's the base of what we have to have within our technology program to ensure that we're securing the company. But with AI, so with artificial intelligence, it has just taken off, right? I mean, it's been here for a while. And we actually have software that we're using within Bealls that has AI in it. But from an industry now, I mean, every vendor in every software company, it has AI. They say they have AI, they have some type of AI, some type of machine learning, and now they're getting into the generative AI, which is, and I think listening to Dr. Mark Crystal, who's, as you mentioned, is on our board of directors, the podcast that you did with him, it's in depth and it helps really for someone who wants to understand artificial intelligence and what it does. He did a great job of explaining it and going through some examples. So I would not be able to do that justice. But artificial intelligence is really, from just a general, it's taking all the data and it's creating analytics based off of that data, more from a basic AI standpoint. But now with generative AI, it's generating new data based on all the data that it has seen. And that's where it gets really interesting. Because if you do not give it good data, or if you give it in things that could cause it to create outcomes that are maybe not, I'm going to say, factually correct. So we are, as I said, we're using AI within our solutions today, mostly very more contained within our software packages that are from vendors, and they're more contained. But we're just on the start of our generative AI journey, and you have we use Microsoft, and so they have Copilot, and you see a lot of information out there about Copilot, and we're learning on how to use it to be more effective and how to automate and how to be more productive as we do our daily jobs.
It's not really as disruptive as I would have thought it would have been a couple of years ago in terms of how much it's decreased the need for just raw manpower. Like it hasn't come in and disrupted jobs in the retail industry to the extent that I would have assumed that it would have a couple of years ago.
It seems like it's going a little slower than I understand what you're saying. Have you ever seen the movie iRobot?
Yes, but It's been a while.
Well, when you started to hear about AI and robots, and you actually started thinking about, okay, I've got a little bit
of a grievance against Will Smith for slapping.
I know, but
I'm trying to let go.
Let's go with just the robot part of it.
Okay.
That they were showing, robots who can do their own thinking, that can generate, can clean your house, can bake apple pies, and do all kinds of things, right? In that kind of world. And we while there's areas where AI is really starting to take off, in all of the fields, but and I'm going to say from the medical field, a lot of benefits. There was just a recent show on TV and under 60 Minutes where it talked a lot about education using AI and how you can have an individual mentor for each student, being that AI mentor. And again, this goes back to how that moves forward. Is it really teaching and educating in the way that is factual. And I think that's where it starts to get very, very interesting. But no, it has not taken over the world yet.
Yeah.
Right. But everyone is headed down that path. And so you still have, from the cybersecurity side of things, it's how do we stop any kind of threat actors who may be using AI in a way that is more negative and disruptive? And then on the other side of it is how do we put tools into our associates' hands so that it makes them more productive and it helps them in their decision making and faster, because it can consume so much data, AI can, and then be able to provide, that summary of a paper for you,
right.
or it can create a beautiful design, or it can put together presentations, at least start to put together the formulating that a shell for you that you can then start to use for different types of meetings or education.
Right. Yeah, I have the ChatGPT app on my phone. I've downloaded it and subscribed, and I use it multiple times a day. I mean, just asking it questions that just randomly come up that I would have Googled in the past.
Yes.
And it takes a lot more time to get to the information via Google to try to sort through the articles and the whatever. ChatGPT just straight up writes me an answer for any question that I ask. It's never right, it never actually gives me a correct answer. No, but part of that is you wouldn't even know, so I think it's getting better at providing answers that you can rely on and that you can trust as being accurate, but you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I was doing a presentation at the last town hall and was announcing when one of our stores was open, and I used ChatGPT. I'm like, well, when did the Bealls store in whatever city open? And it was off by 4 years, but it was close enough. I think it was.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I use it for stuff like that. So
they do say that if you're Googling now, you're kind of in the old school of things.
Right. Yeah, it's like Facebook.
Yeah.
Well, good. Yeah. So, cybersecurity wise, like what are the biggest threats right now that are out there that you're seeing? Is it the landscape changing? Is it going to more like state-run stuff versus little guys? Like can you double click into maybe how AI is impacting that, and kind of like what are your biggest concerns? What are you protecting against right now? Like what's really happening out there in the cybersecurity world?
You're always looking for someone who's trying to infiltrate in to disrupt and do something, usually for financial gain. And so you're looking at how do we protect from even allowing someone in. And then with the use of AI now, it's they're able to collect a lot of data. And so, for example, they're trying to infiltrate in such a way that if they did get in, they could use AI and actually go through a lot of your data, where before there was maybe they're doing it manually. And so
you had more time to know that they were even there.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
And now it's like seconds, right? And they can gather so much data. So it's, how do you just keep that firewall protect? And, a lot of it is also the human firewall. The human firewall. I mean, how many times do you get a text that's not real, or you get some kind of email that's trying to,
Daily.
Yeah, right. Daily. We right now are protecting against those events. There's like 30 million a day. 30 million a day.
For Bealls.
For Bealls. Yeah. And, which over a year can be pretty significant. Yeah. So, and it continues to grow.
Is that 9 trillion or something like that? It's like a lot.
It's definitely in the billions.
Okay. So it's like
but it's
120 billion maybe, or something like that. That's a lot.
It's in the billions. And so but it's grown. So just from the last year, it was around 21 million events a day. And now it's already at 30 million events a day. And so it continues to grow and grow. And I think it's going to get exponential with AI. But it's still that it's about educating our associates on also what to look out for and what to know about. And we've seen, that is the way to also protect us, not just from software, not just software.
I was off by a decimal. So it's 10.95 billion a year, which is crazy to think about. So, I mean, yeah, the job that our team does in protecting us, keeping us safe with race and the whole team is phenomenal. They do a great job.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. For sure. What about, I wanted to ask you just quickly about, and then maybe we can take a bit of a forward look, but any thoughts on quantum computing? I'm just going to spring this one on you without any kind of...
No, you are.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I think that is, it's something that we are continuing to keep a pulse on, and that it is more within the range lately of being out there. And so we're actually reporting on that in our kind of quarterly cyber reviews of what's happening on the quantum computing.
Okay.
Because there's a concern.
Yeah, that could change everything. The amount of energy that's required to compute anything with a quantum computer is like insane. But China's working hard on it, and they're dedicating a lot more dollars to it than even American companies are. But IBM's working on it, and a lot of Google, a lot of companies.
Yes.
So,
and then also, they're all the race with AI, and so between all of that, hopefully we pull the power plug.
Yeah, might have to one day. Yep. You did watch Mark's episode recently. Yeah. That's funny. So kind of looking forward then. Well, actually, before we get to the forward look, I want to recognize you and your team, and you guys. Maybe you can explain the awards that you guys were just recognized with. It's very, very impressive stuff. So
we were a finalist in the Icon Awards for technology teams. That's voted by your peers, and we were in the top 250 from a finalist standpoint. So we were excited that we even just made the finalist list. And then just recently in October, we were announced that we actually made the top 50. The top 50. And again, that was by a peer vote. And so it's recognizing that the work that the team is doing is making a difference. So we're getting a little bit known out there in the industry. And, we were excited about that.
That's awesome.
Very excited.
That's cool. So 250 out of how many people total?
I mean, it could be up to like 1,000, but that you got nominated down into the finalist list. And then from that 250, we went actually got voted in the top 50. And, Walmart was on that list. So Microsoft was on that list. So it wasn't only just retailers. It was across technology.
Nice.
For companies.
Very impressive. And from my vantage point, very well deserved. So
thank you.
Fantastic.
Yeah, very excited on that one.
Yeah. And there was another award, an individual award?
Well, it was more of a recognition. Okay. It was a more recognition. I'm very excited that NRF had announced Retail Voices, and they had their first ever creation of Retail Voices between National Retail Federation and Rethink Retail. They created a list of 50 of us approximately that are known as impacting retail, that our voice in retail is influencing the retail industry. And I made the list.
Nice.
And it was, I'm so honored and so grateful to be part of this. And that I'm among a group of people that are just amazing retail voices. So I'm going to be going to NRF and highlighting the show and interacting with that team and continuing to voice and provide more up-to-date information on what's happening with retail.
Nice. Excellent.
It was a big deal. That one was like, they said, out of thousands. This is like global. This is not just within the state of,
Yeah.
So it's actually probably one of those bigger moments.
Like in your career.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah.
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 This would maybe be it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fantastic. Congratulations. And I know well-deserved. And National Retail Federation is obviously a very prestigious organization, great organization. We've worked with them for a long, long time, several decades and decades.
Yeah, they're over 100 years old.
Yeah, right. Yep. So really cool. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good. Yeah. Any thoughts before we close it out, maybe on just a look forward in technology and kind of like what's on the horizon? What do you see in terms of change happening within the technology world?
So for us at Bealls, we are working and really focused on automation and productivity. So as we're moving from our legacy modernization and moving more with digital solutions, we've got an opportunity to continue to bring in not just something that's a little bit better, but something that is just, I'm going to say leapfrogs. You know, it truly is. We've never done it this way, and it is kind of the state-of-the-art way of doing things. And so we have that opportunity, especially we're getting ready to work through a new workforce management solution that we're inputting, that the entire company is going to have some kind of, it will touch every associate. Let me put it that way. And I think we have an opportunity to make it in a way that the associate now would expect it to be easy, using their phones and information and tablets that you would expect you're going to get your information on. When do I need to come to work? Hey, can I take off time here, or can I add time? I want to work some more. Can I pick up some time here? All of those easy conveniences that you would expect to have now, that we're actually bringing that to our associates, which ultimately should impact our guest as well, so that we're going to be more available to our guest.
Love it.
Yeah. And so one time you asked me the other day, like, where is AI going? And I'm like, if I could answer that, that would be amazing. I think things are going to go so quickly that we're not going to be standing still at all. We're going to be moving towards embracing those changes as they're coming towards us. And we're trying to get our systems in a place. So out of that legacy piece, get our systems in a place where we actually can take advantage of the change so that we can change quickly with it. And that's about trying to bring all the modern, everything that is going on in the retail industry about convenience for a guest to be able to shop whenever, wherever they want. We're going to be getting ourselves there as well. And that's exciting. I mean, there's just so much opportunity within technology, and getting our processes into a place that makes us go faster, but with the right quality, right? The right quality.
Love it. Well, very good. This the Legacy podcast has been it's been amazing. It's been such a great, fun project and thing to do, and to connect the company and to let people know what's going on. And certainly our conversation, I think, is going to add phenomenal insight to the technology component of the business, obviously a critical component of the business. We had to take several weeks off, so it's nice to be back in Legacy. This will be the first episode that we've released in a while. So with the hurricanes, and not to make excuses, but we had to reschedule a whole bunch of these things over the last couple months. So it's nice to be back. We're going to try to get this one out as soon as possible. I do have a meeting in 3 minutes that I've got to get to.
Okay.
But,
well, thank you. It was nice chatting with you.
It's been a great conversation, though.
Thank you.
Yeah. No,
I
thank
really
you.
appreciate that, all that you do with this, because I think it's been able to help provide the communication to the associates and to our guests, but to our associates about who we are and what we do, and helps explain things where they may not have the opportunity to actually have this type of interaction or conversation, that they can understand it. So I appreciate all the effort and energy that you put into this.
Yep. Good. No, thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
those kind words. Yeah. It's easy, it's like now that we've got everything set up, the studio's set up, like we're in a groove. I feel like everything's going really well. It's basically, I'm sitting down for a touch base with you, except we have headphones and microphones in front of us. So it's nice. It's a good way to kind of let the company know, who we are and what we're working on. I'm thrilled with both podcasts and how they're turning out. But Karen, you've been an incredible addition to the team. It's been amazing to have you here for the last couple of years. I've thoroughly enjoyed working with you. I know that there's a lot of great things to come, and just want to again thank you for the everything that you've done for the company. But then, of course, today with your just ability to come on here, your vulnerability, and your willingness to just sit down in a chair for an hour and a half and chat. So it's been a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Awesome. That's a wrap. Yeah, thank you. Well done.